This video is to talk a little bit about working non-broke cattle because that's what you're going to deal with when you go home. I would definitely start with younger weaned calves first. They're going to be a little bit curious. They're probably going to run a little bit, but they're not going to challenge the dogs really hard. Older cows who are used to defending themselves from coyotes or predators are going to be a little bit harder to break. It can be done. Your dog definitely needs to be listening and calm, so just bring them into the pen. These calves have been worked by dogs, but they're not what I would call very broke. If the dog pushes on them too much, they definitely show that they will get to running. So I'm going to bring the dog in. I want her to be calm. I want my calves to just see that we're out there. They're pretty calm. They're going to go over to this back corner over here, which is where their friends are. As long as my calves are looking calm at this point, I'm happy. I'm not going to ask the dog to do anything yet. I'm going to move any obstacles in my pen that might cause the calves to trip over them. If my pen has any sharp corners, I'm going to kind of try to round those off with a piece of cattle panel or something so the cows don't get stuck in there. Call the dog to me, just kind of see what the cows do when she moves. They're looking at her, but they're not real concerned. I definitely am going to get on to her for jumping up or not listening. Number one, she has got to be listening. The results that you're going to get from your cows have to do with the dog. So I'm going to lay her down. If my cows are in the corner here, there's a couple of options you can do depending on how calm they are around people. In this case, mine are pretty calm, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to move them out of the corner a little bit. Sending a dog into a corner, especially a green dog on non-broke cows, is pretty intimidating. And not that Scout can't handle that, but you don't want to set her up to fail, first of all. The cow's friends are over there in that corner, which is what I was pointing at. So I'm just going to move them away from their friends because that sets up that cows on one side of the fence, cows on the other side of the fence, and that makes it harder for the dog to want to go through there. So they see the dog, and they're not super concerned. She's down, she's under control, so they're not super concerned about that. I am going to get onto her for getting up, so I'm going to push her back to where she was. I'm not going to call her to me and ask her to down again. She should not have gotten up. So I'm just going to apply pressure and push her. And then when she downs, I'm going to release the pressure, send her to the heads. Once the cows have seen her and they turn away from her, I'm going to down her. So they moved away from the dog, and I'm going to reward them by not having the dog continue to push on them. So right there, she got up when I asked her not to, or didn't ask her to get up, and that's why I'm getting on to her. So again, it's very important that your dog listen to you. They're down. You see how she's pushing hard on those heels right there? That's what's going to cause your cattle to be upset. She got up when I didn't ask her to, so I'm going to walk in. I'm going to push her back out. So I'm not asking her to do anything. I'm physically pushing her with my body pressure, trying to get into her head a little bit, tell her you need to listen, you need to be sharp. Send her towards the heads. Once the cattle move, they're down. So if they kind of walk off and they're not super concerned, I'm going to send her around. So see, she's got one staring at her, so she needs to stay on her feet and keep moving forward. As soon as that cow turns, I tell her they're down. Send her towards the corner.
Right there, down.
They're down. So they're trotting off, but they're not super concerned. They trot about a good 10-15 feet, and then they stand. And I'm just sending her to the heads, to the heads, to the heads. Basically, they're down. Once they move, I send her towards the heads, try to get them to turn off of her again. So they're learning how to get that release of pressure. I'm not getting them off the fence just yet. But everything's looking pretty calm, so I send her all the way around. I've got to get all these head contained. So send her away again, most likely. They're going to settle back in that corner, so send her into the corner. The only time this dog should have to bite is if she has one that's staring her directly in the eyes. She needs to make solid, slow movements forward, take a clean bite on the nose or a front foot, and then down as soon as the cow turns off of her. Heel bites are often cheap shots. The only time a dog really needs to take a heel bite is if your cattle are stalled out and they are not moving. So right now I'm just kind of working them off the fence towards the middle. They're not going to fetch to me just yet necessarily. So I'm going to try to keep the group together, so I send her towards the single. So once he's headed back towards the group, I down her to release the pressure on the cow, and then I can send her back away to put the rest of the cattle with the single, and then they're a group, and actually we're on balance right here. So she has fetched them to me. So just walking her up to turn that one back towards the group, and then releasing the pressure. So right there I kind of correct her because she doesn't need to go into a packed corner at work speed, okay? So just check her up. You can down her and then resend her. You can give her a hay and get her to stop and then resend her. I'm going to send her all the way around. So it's not always about stopping on balance. Sometimes she just needs to go all the way around, and right there, that's what I tell you about the heels. So if she gets in on those heels, it upsets the cattle. And that's when I said hey, and then downed her. So right there I stopped her before she was able to grab a heel. So you're watching the dog, you're watching your livestock, and that's what's hard about this. You're trying to keep your livestock calm first and foremost. So right there I set a line. I told her there, walk up, and she can do whatever it takes to try to walk these cattle up on that line. So if that means she has to go back and forth, that's fine. But you see how she's nice and off the stalk? She's at a walk. She's not pushing them too hard. She's reading them. So I'm going to send her come by to try to get these back with the group and tell her there again. And she chose to down. So I'm going to send her come by all the way around, I think. So we're just going to try to slowly work them off the fence. I downed her there because she was kind of in on the heels. She wasn't looking to go around. So I just downed her and resent her the same direction. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start trying to walk these around. And we're not going to get them off the fence right now. We're just going to walk them around at a calm pace. So she likes to be on the head, so I might have to redirect her. So I'm telling her away there, and then that gives her permission to walk up and maintain that line. When my cattle are trotting, I'm going to release the pressure on them. And their walk, so she needs to walk and keep them at this calm, slow pace. So anytime she looks like she's trying to flank around and get to the heads, I tell her there to set that line again. Basically turn in and stop, and here I am blocking them in the corner. So this is what you want to be careful of. If you're asking your dog to walk up and push on them, that you're not blocking the cattle from moving. See, as soon as I move out of the way and I give them an exit, they're able to move. If I was to have stood there and continue to ask Scout to walk up, that's really unfair to her because she's going to have to push the cattle hard, and the cattle are then going to, number one, run over me, and number two, they're going to get pretty upset. So you just want to watch what you're doing. We're going to walk them in the other direction. So come by right there to set the line, and then walk. But you see how she's trying to go to the head, so I'm telling her there. And she just doesn't understand yet that a drive is to a point in the pen, not necessarily to you. So she hasn't done a ton of driving. She can do it. You just have to redirect her. So stop her before she gets to the heads. And here I am blocking again. And I've told her there, so she can cover that single. You see how she's doing that? She's going to cover it, put it back with the group, and then we're going to get back on track. I'm going to say come by, there, and so that means she should walk them up into that corner, and I'm blocking them from going along the fence. So I'm going to send her come by again. I'm going to step out of the way, so that I'm not blocking my cattle and making the job hard for my dog, and then walk up.